I've got permission.
Got it. Get it, got it, good.
Arise and shine, everyone. Welcome to the Pool Party Podcast. I'm your host.
Got it, good.
I'm your host tomorrow. And today, you guys, we have Jeremy Hill here. He is such an incredible friend of mine. He is a light being. I'm calling him a light body strategist and specialist because he knows the mechanics of the body and he brings in that cosmic, just like really good, loving, there's almost, interestingly, ironically enough, Jeremy, there's almost no words to describe. Yeah. Well, and he does light language, you guys. So we're going to dive into some light language stuff with Jeremy. He is a massage therapist. He is body mechanics. He does Tai Chi. He does the EFT tapping. And then he created from all those modalities. This is what I love, because I love creatives and I love the arts, right, of everything. And you guys, Jeremy created his own technique, which is brilliant. And it's called Energy. So it's ENER and then CHI, Energy, which is, I think, is just like the best planned words. And it completely encompasses everything that he teaches. So strap on. We're going to have a really fun talk today, and you're going to learn a bunch of new stuff that you probably have never heard about before. And the light language stuff is crazy. It's kooky. It's really out there, but it's our ancient ancestry too. So it's so fascinating to me. So I asked Jeremy on the podcast and I'm like, let's talk about this. What do people need to know? I had some people last time you were doing the light language and she was like, that's crazy. Like, I don't even know what that means. So let's dive into it at the pool party and see what kind of splashing we can do with it.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I'm full of all kind of fun puns today. Perhaps a little sleep deprived. So I do want to mention really quick that I also took, and when I podcast, you guys, I take Qualia, and Qualia is a nootropic that it is like a brain enhancer. So this is the Qualia product, and we have a discount code for everybody. And Thaddeus and I love sharing about the nootropics. We've had people. Seriously, we've had so many people send us so many different types and so many different stacks. And Qualia is the one that we always go back to because all the ingredients, you guys, are natural. And that's what this is like Thaddeus approved. And Thaddeus is really like one of the experts. And he's like the OG in the nootropics world. So there are like formulations that these guys have put together. And it's like, if you were to take them all apart and pick them up, it would cost hundreds of dollars. So it's just such a really good deal. And we love endorsing them because they are some of the most amazing people. We go to events with them and they're really a great like family owned company. Also, so some of the things that it works for me is like focus and memory and drive, and the focus power that you get from it is I'm starting to talk really fast. I'm like, I'm on Qualia. No, but like I gave one to my mom. I gave her a bottle and she took it. She's like 75 years old and she plays golf with like a 55-year-old lady. And she was like, Heidi, I beat her in golf today. She's like, I cannot believe the focusing power that it enhances your neural pathways. So just want to remind everybody that if you're interested, you get 15% off, and our discount code, I'll have Thaddeus put it in the chat, and it's called Primal Mind. So it's all caps and it's PRIMAL and then MIND. And it honestly, so it's you take 5 days on, 2 days off. And then after like 6 months, you get a permanent upgrade. So it's awesome stuff. And they're all into the, what's the sacred geometry, and everything's like, it's really well crafted and higher mind crafted. So thought it'd be very appropriate to mention that while we bring on Jeremy Hill today. All right, Jeremy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. I mean, we talk weekly, just about weekly. Took a little bit of a break this summer, but I always feel I'm not kidding. I always feel lighter, brighter, happier. My smile, like my cheeks hurt by the time I'm done, like hanging out with you when we're doing our Facebook lives. So that, Jeremy and I do a Facebook live every Tuesday at 11:11 Central Time, you guys. And it is like 30, well, we say 30 minutes,
No.
but it's like, it's not, it's like 45 because we chit chat and we have stuff to talk about. And by the time you're done, I'm not kidding. You're glowing, right? So, all right, Jeremy, let's hear from you. Tell us just a little bit about what you're feeling today on the equinox, and then give us just a little bit of background on what you're up to these days.
Right on. Well, again, tomorrow, thank you for having me here at the pool party. It's awesome. I'm so excited and honored to be here. So, as the equinox is like upon us, I woke up this rising, and it's amazing. Like, my dream recall is like through the roof. Like, I don't know what I've done. I think I've just decalcified my pineal gland. And it's like, I've always dreamt of, taking qualia too. I've looked into that stuff, and I have like Dexter's Laboratory in my kitchen, like 1,000 jars of different stuff. So it'd be nice to have it into like one pill or something that you take, and it really enhances your mind. So I'm looking forward to using that discount code. But woke up this rising and was like kind of contemplating on some of the dreams that I had. And I'm always like in some huge, like, elaborate house or like mansion or resort, and I was with some like old high school friends, and we're just like talking life and like eating really high biophotonic rich foods and like just hanging out, and it's like super vivid. So I'm like, maybe I could go further with this. So I hopped into meditation and kind of like tranced out, and then felt my consciousness just like travel. And it's been like some new thing that I've been able to do. And it's like, of course, on the equinox, like I'm like able to do it. I was even like seeing my sisters. I'm like telling them, I'm like, I learned to travel my consciousness consciously, and like explaining it to them in a whole nother dimension. So it was really, really weird. And like seeing them, like I haven't seen them in a while. And then like I saw them and like was having a conversation with them and like telling them how I'm like liberating myself and like got over like addiction issues and like transcending some of these like societal like demands that we all put ourselves through, and like how much reassurance it is to your path. So like, as I like, got out of it, and then like I get back to this 3D now space, I'm like, all right, yeah, well, that's amazing. And like, how do we take those lessons from those like mindscapes or whatever you want to call them, dreams or consciousness traveling, and bring them in and integrate into this new earth, right, that we're all creating? And like, believe me, everyone, Heidi, tomorrow, she is one of them. Thaddeus is one of them. Like, finding these types of people is what we should be doing. And then like, holding them in your mind is a really great way to, get through, say, like Mercury retro upgrade, right? So that's what I like to do. I'm like a wordsmith with some things. And like, when you just like think about, like, I even give this to my crew members, like, like, just think of me, like, what would I be thinking in this situation? Or would I let it get me down? Or like, dude, literally shoot me a text. We got these quantum devices, like, shoot me a text. Or like, just think about like, what would Heidi do? Well, like, Heidi would do some breath work and like root lock it home and send it up into the pineal and activate the calcite crystals, like do all this amazing stuff, And so like, integration is what has been coming through, because we've done the processing, like, well, at least I have, like, the emotional processing, and allowed myself to feel what it feels like to have feelings and emotionally process things. So now it's like, how do we integrate it, and how do we pass it on to the next light being? Because this is it. It's like when you pass somebody in the gym and you're at the grocery store, it's like holding that smile or being like, dude, I love your shirt, or like, I love your necklace, your bracelet, or something like that. And it's like so easy to do. And it's the energy is reciprocated too. So like, only powers you up. So like, the way to integrate is just to be great.
Totally.
And shine
totally. I'm like watching myself in the live, and I'm going like this. I'm just like agreeing with everything you're saying, with every like essence of my being. And I'm like, wait, Heidi, just like, you look kind of silly, like, because I just love, I know, like, just like, I love everything that you say. And you're such, and you guys, like, Jeremy really brought to my, my attention wordsmithing, and Thaddeus and I were doing some uncovering of it, but you like take it to a whole new level. And he, like, did you hear him say Mercury upgrade? Most people say Mercury retrograde, right? He's like, I'm not letting something, you know, like out here dictate what I'm doing inside, outside, doesn't matter, right? I'm not going to let something like pull me back. I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to flip it, because we're in an inverted reality, and I'm going to flip it around and go, wait, no, I'm getting an upgrade, man. And that's what I was like, I would say that too about, like, you know, the way the world in 2020, but
right.
And that's a little more
like speaking, thinking everything into your 3D now space, your existence. And it's funny, I'll have to share this because a couple of my crew members, again, I've been getting away from calling them clients. Like, they're my crew members. Like, they're on my ship here, my consciousness ship, you know? So like, I say to them all the time, I say this to all people too, and they kind of look at me like, whoa. But like, people are always like, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? And I'm like, you know, everybody's like, all right. You know, and I'm like, I'm all right, left, up, down, and centered, like, you know, saying that kind of stuff. People are like, whoa, okay. Like, it's just amazing to let people feel that like vibration that you bring out, you know, as soon as you interconnect and start that conversation. You know, like I said it to you the other day on our live. I'm like, you're like, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, zinging and zonging all day long, and appreciating this resistance and this existence that I give to myself. You know, like, it's all this light language, right? And then, like, it's so beautiful about like, all right, actually bringing more of like this mystical, like, you know, you call it like speaking in tongues or light language, whatever you want to call it. You just like kind of let it flow from your being. And flow is what this glow is all about. And like this whole like existence is a glowing experience that we can bring to ourselves and others. And you know, whenever the smothers come in, like, you can just like, leave that stuff. And that's why I like speaking in rhymes, like, because people will understand that and they'll be like, huh. Like, you know, like, it'll make them remember too. You know? Like, you remember all the song lyrics and all that stuff. So like, remembering this kind of stuff is what we're here to do, is transcend some of the things that we may be going through and creating our highest existence, and, you know, serving ourselves for our highest good.
Absolutely. I had a thought when you were talking about all that. I was like, because I do the same thing when I go into like a grocery store or whatever. I'm like, my goal is to learn something, meet somebody, or have just an incredible conversation, or just get someone to smile that was, you know, fussy before or whatever. And then when people, like, the other thing too is like, when I leave, I want them to remember me. So I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to say, how are you doing? Like, you know, like, it's, and then strike up something. And a lot of times I know them because I live in a small town, and you know what, like, I want them to feel good that they cross my path. And I was just thinking, like, oh my God, imagine if Jeremy like walked in the grocery store and like checked out in front of me, and then I walked in and then I checked out, the people would just be like, oh my God, what's going on with these crazy
many light beams of love in the vicinity?
Totally.
My groceries are vibrating brighter.
I know. Okay, so I have a question, and this is like when I decided like I wanted to really dive into the light language with you, I was thinking about this, and I was going through your Facebook pictures, and I was looking at some of the pictures of you when you were younger, and your hair is all short, and oh my God, you're so cute, and you know, like, I was like, I wonder when did you make this pivot, Jeremy, to like speaking this way, speaking in tongues, speaking the light language, rhyming and transcending, wordsmithing, all this stuff. And then like, maybe what was like, you know, like what kind of happened with your story maybe before to kind of plunge you into that. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's an elaborate story, but like, I've always been very spiritual, and I've always allowed things to like come into my field. And like, again, I had some issues that I was like, nothing's going to come into my field. I'm going to like get addicted to marijuana and like be the happiest being in my own world all the time. But like, granted, that was like serving me at that time. But like, people would always ask me, again, it's like my whole like singing and zonging all day long. And I would come into a room and people like, yo, Jeremy, I'm like singing and singing and singing and singing and singing and singing. And they're like, whoa, man, you got some like serious energy. And then like, I like to do like rhyming and flowing, like put on like hip hop beats and like speak lyrics, like rapping lyrics.
Yeah.
And then like, I like to do them fast. like really fast. And then like after time, like you start to like just eventually like you're literally like a broken record, like bah, 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 like saying stuff very, very quickly. And then like I started to translate that. I did get inspired with light language too from a couple different practitioners. And then I kind of saw them doing it and I was like, man, I could do that, like, and then I started doing it and started to like seriously feel some vibratory like enhancements in my field. And I learned that it's a very, very good way to talk to some of the negative sides of yourself, what you're going through, shadow aspects of yourself or others that they might not want to, pull from their being. And it helped me with that like quantum healing journey. So I started to like mess with the light language. Like I almost took like hip hop beats, put them on and was like doing light language with the beats. And then it like totally became a part of my field. And now I'm like, and like aligning in and making myself like this power column of consciousness and like don't even give myself a chance to think about what I'm going to say next. And then I started to use it with some of the quantum healing stuff for some of my crew members. And like, I was literally like pulling entities out of their body and then like seeing the entities and then like laughing the light language at the being I pulled out, who's now cowering in the corner because I've pulled it and it was so used to its home within the crew member, right? And it's just amazing. So like you start to like, get into these mind spaces and then people are like, well, what are you saying? Like, and like your listener who was like, I don't know what the heck that was, but like, it didn't make me feel bad. Yeah. And then like, I would actually start to like formulate words in my mind and then speak the light language of that word. So like if I was to do Heidi, I'd be like ha-i-a-i-dia. Like I would just say like different connotations of the word, like huh or he, or like huh, like ha-hu-he, ha-hu-he, and then like you just start to like almost spell the person's name with like a more gibberish behind their letter of their name or the letter of the word. Like love is obviously one I use a lot. And then you just start to flow and then learn words and numbers and start to like kind of flow in your consciousness. And then it starts to like come out. So my journey came with like, all right, I'm putting on the rap beats and like doing it. And then I'm like doing it with clients. And then like words would pop into my head, like Sirius and Pleiades and like Arcturus. And like, I would be like saying the like Arcturus in my light languages. And like, even one, because I know you know Washela, and like Sananda is one that like comes through a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, Sananda, and like I'll just be like Shiakanaka Sananda Kara Orion, and like Orion will come through. Like a lot of these things, and like I almost feel like it's map signals that are like the consciousness, because we are the conscious conduit, right? The electromagnetic being in the middle of the electro above us and the magnetic below us. So as I like really go crazy with it and do it really fast, it really becomes something special that like my clients are like, whoa. Or like this lady who was in my Tai Chi course, she had a hurt knee and I'm like, come here. And I'm like, I care, but like, I'm going to do this. So I held her knee and I was just went into it. And like, dude, she's been having no problems ever since, like, and if I'm just changing somebody's mind with what they're going through, good. Like that's how it's supposed to be. I've even done it with younger kids too. Like kids seem to be very receptive to this. And some hockey player came up to me, man, my knees. I'm like, dude, your knees are fine. Look at you walking towards me. You know what I mean? I'm like, you played 3 hockey games in one day. Well, that's why your knees are sore. But I'm like, come here. And I put my hands on his knees and I'm like, and he's like, messaged me the next day, dude. He's like, what did you do to me? He's like, my knees feel stronger than ever. And I'm like, this is what it's about. Like, you might just be changing someone's frequency around the feelings of what they're feeling. And that's what it's about. We're frequency beings. It's all frequency. It's all energy. And if we can manipulate that into the direction of love, no push and shove, baby. This is it. Ease and grace is the place.
Jeremy, like honestly, I could just sit here. I'm just like enamored. I'm like just watching you talk and move, and like you are like you're in this just like magical flow. It's so beautiful.
Well, it's like do activations, and I did this before, and like, why don't I do it for your listeners? Like, all you got to do is do this, and it's like, the constellations deep inside, locked in the labyrinth of your heart knows what I'm gonna say. So like, all you do to like activate your Merkaba, because I like activated my Merkaba before this. It was like sun gazing and doing all my energy work, because I knew I was going to connect with tomorrow today on this live stream and be like, woo. So what you got to do is like kind of find yourself in a nice calm space. I mean, I'm ripping it up here, so like my heart's beating, but just breathe nice and slow. And like, if you say this in your mind or say it out loud, that's cool. But just do this with me. So I call onto the constellation of Orion to enter starlight into my bottom tetrahedron. I call onto the star constellation of Sirius to enter starlight into my top tetrahedron. I call onto the star constellation of Alpha and Beta Delphinius to enter starlight through my crown. I call onto the star constellation of Pisces to enter starlight through my feet. And I call onto the star constellation of Ophiuchus for my central nervous system. All light landing in my heart, activating my Merkaba with love. Boom. It's as quick as you can do it, and I'm already like back to like peace.
Yeah.
And that's it. Maybe some of your listeners know about the Merkaba, these two infused tetrahedrons that are like an energy vortex. Like, it's your light vehicle, right? Your pineals, the star gate, the star vehicle, right, is your Merkaba. So like, activation of the Merkaba is as easy as that. And rewind it, write it down, just say that stuff. It only took me but 30 seconds to now activate my Merkaba. And when you do that stuff, the light language comes through, this conversation comes through way easier, more smooth. And like, it makes you feel a certain way, because I'm talking to you, and I'm also talking to many of the people who are going to watch this video or who are maybe listening in right now. But like, how do you feel right now? Do you feel like, connected? Do you feel respected? Do you feel like you got some work to do in your Merkaba field? Like, it could be, but that's it. Like, couple constellations and connecting to the energies that are already flowing through you, and using some of this like starlight codes of consciousness, man, it'll really revamp your energy field up.
So what happened to me, like, as soon as I opened my eyes, my entire nervous system and my spine went like this. And it just like completely unwind. And then a lot of times, like, visions come to me, but not always like super easy. And Jeremy, when you were going into that, I was starting to get like some kaleidoscoping going. That was awesome. Like, it was like that. It was so good.
That's amazing. I'm glad you had a little experience.
Yeah. And I could tell you're like, look at your energy. You're just like, like you're in this like incredible flow, and it ebbs and flows, right? And like, it's just, it's incredible. And I find myself too, a lot of times I'm mirroring people, or I'm always equalizing. I've noticed that with myself, like in my past, that I will equalize a room, or I will equalize a conversation. And I've started becoming much more aware of that in the last like 10 years of my life. And I'm like, this person that comes into, my world, my life, is such chaotic energy that I will just instantly go and calm down, because I can't handle that much chaotic energy. Like, you have a lot of like big energy, but it's not chaotic, right? Like, it seems like it's he's like, I don't know. No, but it doesn't feel chaotic to me. And I can feel chaos when somebody's got like a lot of mind chatter, and they're not sure in their own, Merkaba and their own light body, right? Like, that comes through, and then they have to like overpower and do all this control stuff and whatever. But we can feel that. And I've been super sensitive to that. And so I'm always trying to like equalize. Is there something that on the equinox today, right? Like this recalibration, is there something that's coming through to you that in a light language way?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of, you mean like, do I have a light language for the equinox?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But that was what kept coming through when you were like, equal the energy, right? And like, is the energy exchange even, or is it something that like you kind of have to set up your guard and like defend away, or you have to like preparatory bring yourself up and like start to like energize yourself up before you walk into this like societal situation? So like, I get it. And that's why like certain kingdoms are like really coming online for these new earth beings like yourself and others who are like, dude, everybody's waking up to the calamity of whatever, you know, but like the elemental kingdom, like the animal kingdom, like everything is coming online for people to connect to like the earth more, the sun more, the trees, the trails, like the like, and that's something that I like to do. Like, I don't have any like crystals on my body right now, but I have like a whole vortex of like my crystals like pointing towards me and pointing towards the camera. So like I got like this energy exchange. I got like tachyon rods, sunstone, shungite, and rose quartz, and just like a crystal skull. Like I always see my consciousness in this crystal skull that I have. Like those kingdoms are online for us. And like, get yourself some tiger's eye. Like that's meant to be one for confidence and power and staying in your power. And like, you better believe, like, if I go to, like, I went to a vegan festival and like, I put on my tiger's eye, like my girl Amber, like made me an awesome like chakra bracelet. And I always wear it whenever I'm like out. And like, it's just, you put on all your power stuff, you know, right? And then like, that kind of sets your energy field and keeps your Merkaba strong, keeps your biofield with no wobbles or no entry points for anybody to like interfere. So like when you're in this like phase of like, am I a new earth creator? Well, if you're wearing stones and you're like even just thinking about them and you kind of got them around your field, that's great. And then like, be the test subject, take them off, go completely naked in the sun and feel what it feels like to be the crystalline avatar that you are, right? Because that's what I do. I don't wear much at all. And then I'm like, but when I do, it's like, boom, power up, and all of the meanings behind the stones, like kind of really come online for me. So like, as we, you know, head into like the equality of the equinox, as we interchange and exchange our energies with the cosmos and the earth, like, this stuff's online. So like, get yourself online and get more attuned, and, you know, start to, you know, eat foods in accordance with the chakras and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure a lot of your listeners know the colors of the chakras, and that's why, you know, like eating certain foods with them, like I end up having like all of the colors in the day, and I'm like, okay, I'm good, you know, and then I can like kind of binge out with like a little vegan ice cream or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's about, you know, like having this kind of balance and not negating duality, because duality is here and it's to help us get it clear and serve us for our highest good.
Oh, so beautiful. So Jeremy, how did you learn how to, like, I mean, Thaddeus learned the Merkaba, and that was through the Flower of Life with John Valo, Melchizedek. How did you learn like to activate your Merkaba and your light body? And like, how did you learn all this stuff?
Yeah, I'm a huge follower of Jerry Sargent. He is just an amazing being. He's of star magic healing, and dude, it's like there's just a lot of like energy that you can feel from people. And
is it Gerry or is it
Jerry? Okay. And actually his original name is Jeremy too. So it's been wild. Like, and I've seen him in the spirit realm, the astral planes and stuff like that. And like done some crazy like healings, and like I've like taken his courses in the astral realms. Like I've trained like online with him, right, in the ethernets. And then I actually took his beginner course, and ever since then, like, dude, I've been using that activation, and he calls it star magic codes of consciousness, and I use those codes of consciousness. And it's amazing. And again, he's got a real long story, but like, you know, kind of a tainted background that we, like, all of us can kind of, you know, relate to. Like, we've been through the mud, and now we've risen up and are these bright and glowing flowers of love and ease and grace. So, and like, I followed him like many years ago. It's been like 6 years or something like that. And, you know, did some like quantum meditations, and then the light language stuff. Like, I would see him do it, and I'm like, I can do that. And like really got into it and started to make it my own practice. And now using that like little incantation like I did to activate the Merkaba, like, dude, there's something to it. Like, have you ever heard of Ophiuchus?
No, I don't think so.
Right. Not a lot of people have. It's the 13th constellation. And like a lot of people talk about like 12 and all that, but there's like this 13th constellation, Ophiuchus. I believe it's spelled like Ophicius.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Actually,
right.
I have
it's like, it's something that's connected to our central nervous system. And of course they didn't want to tell us about that is controlling our central nervous system. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then you call onto it to enter the starlight, you know, into your central nervous system.
Yeah.
Boom, you are going to feel more, you know, I don't want to say protected, but powerful in your field.
Mm-hmm. I
Right?
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, I love how you were like reminding us, like, right? Like we're remembering all this stuff. And I love how you reminded me just now of when I go and I meet those chaotic people, or I'm in a situation where I'm like a little unsure and whatever. I you know, I have forgotten that I have that power. And you guys, we all have this power. That's why we're here, to like remind us, right? And we get to protect our space. We get to, like what he said, use the tiger's eye, use our own crystalline body and go in protected, right? So we don't have to feel that like push and pull and all that, trying to, I don't like to say trying, but more like reactive, right? And I don't like being reactive in the energies. I like, and that's why I'm very particular of who I surround myself with. And when I am in those situations, like I oftentimes will have to go take an energetic, a bath to neutralize, you know, a lot of energies, because I'm really open. I'm really sensitive to that stuff. And I know that water is a psychic neutralizer. Right. So going into the bathtub, in the shower, after anytime I'm around a lot of people, or if I have had a glass of wine or two, and opening up that spirit world, right? Like there's a lot to that. And then I love how you mentioned too, like we all have those stories. We all been through the mud, and it's like that lotus that just like comes up, and we're working our way up and through. And I love that you're such a beautiful guide to remind us, like you don't come off and you're like, I know all this stuff and blah, blah. You're not arrogant or anything. Like you're just this kind, humble light bearer that, I mean, light bearer.
Light bean. It was funny in your captions, it said bean instead of being. And
I saw that.
Like my crew member Amber, she brought it to my attention, and I was like, this is perfect, because I am a bean and I'm planted and I'm growing, you know, it's like the sky with my stalk, and like this is like, I think it's all divine. Like everything is divine, and your shine is your design. So like when, like you were saying, like, how do we interact with people and also keep ourselves safe and in coherence with our plan, our path, right? Our golden path, and not let it bring us down. Like, this is it. You start to do practices like me and Heidi do every Tuesday for you live. Like that makes you an impenetrable force, right? And when you hold your force, right? Like this whole, like, dude, the Jedi, like way, like you are the force is you. And you can start to, like, you know, negate anything that's coming in, or like see that it is something that you asked for. Like, I decided to go to the grocery store, I decided to go to this class, or I decided to go to the gym or whatever. And this like person's like in my field, but am I allowing them to tarnish my field, or are they like just literally nothing to me? Or I send them love, you know, too. Like they might be going through something and this is their path, but I'm over here on my path, and nothing can, you know, divert me away from this golden path that I'm on.
Totally. Oh, so good. Such good information. Okay, so should we jump into doing some movement? We're kind of a little, we're at 134. So I'd like to,
for sure.
Let's get our bodies moving. And so you guys, Jeremy's, I asked him to do like a desk, movement workout, because like I found myself, and this literally just came downloaded to me this morning. I was like at my desk, and I'm like 2 hours in. Normally I get up and I walk my dog, and I just had a lot to do this morning. And I was like, oh, I wish I could just like do this little routine. And like, I know Kundalini moves, like I can do that too. Right. But like, I'm always expanding. I always want to learn more. And I'm like, I wonder if Jeremy knows some like desk movement. And he's like, oh yeah, I do that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, it made me like go in my archives of my old notes, because imagine how many, like being a personal trainer, a lot of like desk jockeys are like, dude, how do I like move and just like, you know, reverse the damage that these seats have brought onto us. And like, I don't know what position you're in right now, but I'm on like your conventional chair. I'm sitting like 90 degrees at the knees, like 90 degrees from the hips to the torso. Like this is it. And like, depending on your movement and fitness level, like this stuff might really speak to you, or it might be like, I can't do that. Like I can't be doing that. Okay. But like, one of the easiest tips that I've given to people is never using the back of your chair. Okay, you never use the back of your chair. Stools are like great rules to follow. So you like are kind of more postured up and you have to hold yourself upright. So you're not like slouching over and using this back of it. And then eventually like the low back pushes into the chair and you start to slump forward, right? Because these computers, these cell phones, these desks have like kind of tarnished our line. Like your spine is supposed to be a line from the tailbone to the tip of the head. And there's a lot of like postural cues that I can give to people even in a seated position, right? But you start to like scooch up, you get on the edge of your chair and you start to like pigeon toe your feet a little bit and get your, like almost like this press into the floor to like, you're gonna maybe stand up at any moment, and you start to engage from the structure points because you have 4 structure points, your left and right foot and your left and right butt cheek, right? Because those are structure points that you are either pushing through or just sitting on and then letting the rest of the spine kind of get diminished in this slouching forward action. So one easy tip is just sit on the edge of your chairs, quit using the back of the chairs, or if you have a back on your chair, like tuck a pillow back there, get a little lumbar support thing. Those things are cheap, or like roll up your hoodie like how Heidi's doing right now. And like kind of supporting this like lifting of the chest open. Now with this like lifting open, it becomes something that will like diminish over time. Like even me, I get like a little antsy in these chairs and like sitting here, I'm like, okay, I'll sit in this chair for now. But like, I mean, I'll never forget years and years ago when I was working at a desk, I kicked a desk chair I threw into I even like let people get changed on it. Like I just use this for like members of this gym I was working at. And I just got the exercise ball out and I would just sit on this exercise ball. So like yoga balls, those are like $5 and you start to replace that. Like that's going to demand a lot more from your spinal and core engagement as you sit there for long periods of time. But like I switched to that and that like really brought me a new awareness to, being in a prolonged at the computers kind of thing. And then you're talking standing desks, or even squatting desks, like you taking everything and putting it all on the floor and just remaining in a squat, like there you go, like that's next level. Because and it's like just as a personal trainer, like working with a lot of desk jockeys, it's like, well, if you're going to come to the gym and you're at a computer all day, I don't want to see you on that bike or the recumbent bike. I want to see you on the elliptical doing something standing, right? It's like if you're a bus driver, like I don't want to see you sitting down and exercising. I want to see you standing and exercising because you sit for your career, right? So just a little like food for thought there. Like, all right, I'm at my desk for 6, 7 hours, 8 hours a day. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing standing exercises more than seated. Not saying that it's bad. I'd rather you do exercise than do anything. But like if you had to pick, well, you sit, so stand while you do your like warm-ups on the ellipticals or your elliptical whole thing or something like that. But so sitting on the edge of the chair, switch out to a ball, get to a standing or squatting or nice seated position desk. But like I said, this had me get out my old files, but like there's a couple stretches that you can do. Like there's one called the butterfly reach. Okay. So like you just kind of like put your hands behind your ears. I always am like, show me your ears, not like interlace your fingers behind your ears and, make it tough, but you're just here. And then you pretty much just start to extend your chest towards your screen, look up to the sky, and then you tuck your chin and look back down at the screen. And then you're just kind of like holding this stretch for a while. And then you use the gaze as a guide to add more stretch to this. So I'm looking straight into the camera. Okay. And then I look up, like trace the wall or wherever you're at in your space all the way up. And then you look back down, trace the ceiling, the wall, and then I'm back to the camera. Good. And then like you can even go all the way down, like looking at the keyboard, my desk, and then chin to chest. And then like think elbows back, elbows back, elbows back. Good. And then we'll come back to straight. So another thing that kind of happens when we start to like look up and look down is the shoulders will start to rise. Like we got to think, pack the shoulders down and then bring those like shoulder girdles underneath. Like I want to see your lats under here. Okay. These muscles in the fronts of the shoulders are worked too much for us beings. And by me even just like lifting my arms like this, these are being worked. So we got to think behind the body. And that's why this position here is like good for engaging those lats. And then you start to isolate the neck and head to, just you work this like deeper plane, right? You're looking straight for a long time, and that's when things kind of diminish. So that's a really easy stretch. So just like, hey, show me your ears, like literally like showing your ears, Dumbo ears, like, and then you just look up and down, but keep the elbows pulling back and the shoulders scooping underneath. This is gonna, again, expose a little bit about the core, but yeah, I've showed this to you before about like closing the rib cages. And when you do that stretch, you breathe out. So even if like your listeners want to do this with me, you can do it with me too, but take a deep breath in and then take your fingers and then reach them under your ribs. You can like get them under there a little bit. Now, once you get them under there a little bit, now breathe everything out. All the air. If I can still talk, then there's more for me to breathe out. So I can still talk. So there's still more for me to breathe out. Then like, there you go. Like, there's your core, everyone, right? Closing the rib cages. And then you perform these stretches and start to live kind of more at the ends of the breath rather than the beginning of the breath, where we're holding our chest open, our rib cage is open and flared, and the back in engagement. So we try to like relax the back and use the core.
Okay, so hold on. So do that breath and then do this.
Right. If you could hold the out breath and then go through a stretch, right? You've breathed out, you got your rib cages closed, you got the scoop, you got the elbows pulling back, and then go through a little 10 of these, holding this strong. Like, imagine I'm there, like pressing on your belly, like, hey, are you contracted here? Like, you should be able to get hit in your stomach no matter what. Okay, so that's a great way to think of things, and just exhaling and then stretching, because that'll lead me into a couple more. But these chair chest openers. So all you do is literally like grab onto your chair and then you open up your chest, right? Extension in the back is okay, but now you just start to breathe out. Boom. You're just doing this in your chair. 10, like I've even said that like 6 seconds is all you need for muscles to release. So if you want to hold this for 10 minutes or 6 seconds, it's up to you, but like a nice open, right? Chest is what's going to help us reverse some of this damage, because you can feel it like rubber band back. It kind of like rubber bands back into this slouching position. I mean, I'm not good at showing it anymore because I've worked on my posture, but that's a really, really good one too. So a chair chest opener.
Awesome.
Seated figure 4 stretch is another great one. So all you're going to do is kind of like sit there like you're reading the paper, kind of look. Let me see if I can itch it down a little bit.
Okay.
Legs. But all you're going to do is bring your one ankle up and over the knee, and you're kind of like going to push on these areas. I'm going to pull up on the ankle and then push down on the knee, and then find those other postural cues. Breathe out to the belly, and you're just hanging out here. And I mean, like, depending on your mobility, like you could sit there and work on your desk, like this. It's kind of like the reading the paper look, kind of thing, but not like this. Not like, I can't even do this. I don't know how people like sit there with their legs crossed and stuff. Like I don't like it. It doesn't feel comfortable. But like doing that for like maybe a couple minutes and then doing a switch, but you're going to actually like pull and push, pulling on the ankle and pushing down on the knee. This is going to really help open up the hips and the higher parts of the legs, so that you can feel what it feels like to be a little bit more mobile in your hips that have been stuck in a 90-degree angle as we like sit in a chair like so all day. Right. I got pretty good posture, right? That's just it. Like, we want to make our spine align, a straight up line from like your tailbone all the way up into the tips of your head. So I know it takes a little bit of learning process, but like that figure 4 stretch, really easy to just kick it up and not be crossing the legs, but like creating distance and creating this like triangle within your hip girdle to like kind of pull and push and, make the hip do a little bit. So that's a really good one too. And then like a seated spinal twist is one that I'd make people do who are, again, prolonged seated positions at desks. So you pretty much are just going to grab a side of the chair and twist, like whatever way you have to. You grab the chair and twist. And I just cracked a couple times, so like you're twisting and almost like searching to bring the head and neck and shoulders that are as if they were forward, twisted to the side, and almost bring that gaze behind you. And again, everything else is nice and square. So like my feet are square. I kind of touched on this before about like kind of pigeon toe up your feet, put your feet pigeon toed. That's a commonality within humans, is they're kind of like duck footed and always pushing our foot out like this. So like put your feet like this, and then you stay square with your hips and everything. And then you just grab the side of the chair or whatever you got, and then you twist and then go through the compaction of the shoulders, tuck the chin, regress the head, breathe out to your belly. And like, imagine you're just doing this every once in a while. You know, if you're a desk jockey, do this stuff and then watch how, like, even as I've been here on this podcast for 45 minutes, like, boom, I cracked my back a few times. Like, this is great. So another one is this like bound neck stretches. Now you can like do this like leaning against your chair, and then you like interlace your hands behind your chair, and then you pull one to like kind of expose the elbow, and then you're going to go through 4 different motions. And you just think of like whatever side I'm going to, see how I have my like right elbow exposed. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're going to drop right ear to right shoulder. And it's like there's a fish hook under the left side of my left jaw, like pulling me up to the ceiling. Okay. So right ear is down to the right shoulder. And then from here, we just look down into the right armpit. Right. Keeping right ear down. And then we look up and over the shoulder, and you can like push your lips out because you're going to stretch the muscles from your lips all the way down to the left side part of the neck. So like kind of like you're kissing over your shoulder. Send your lips over there. Ooh. And then you keep your lips pulling and then come back to the center and go up. And again, it's like that fish hook underneath the left side pulling me up. Good. And then you release, come back to the center. Shake it out a little bit, right? It's going to feel weird. And you don't have to go behind your chair. Behind your chair is tougher. You can sit on the edge and just kind of like keep it to like my hands behind my back kind of thing.
So then you do the opposite elbow, like kind of.
We're going to do the other side. So we expose the left elbow.
Okay.
Okay. Left ear to left shoulder. Good. And then you look down into the left armpit. Again, about 6 seconds of this is fine. But just think ear down, ear down. It looks good. Hide ears is good. And then you look up and over the left shoulder and push your lips out. And then you come back to the center and up. And then you release and just look back straight. I mean, you're stretching your neck, so be careful. But that's it. Like, and like this whole pushing of the lips, like all of these muscles like interconnect all the way down into your shoulder. And it's just like that. Like, mwah, mwah. You know, you're kissing to the side, but like engaging the lats and all this stuff down to help stretch the neck. And because again, we're here at our computers and it kind of like juts forward, and that's not what we want. We want to regress the head, tuck the chin, regress the head. That in its own actually decompresses the spine. So tuck the chin, regress the head, boom, I'm decompressing my spine. How many of you use your car headrest? You know, not a lot of people. And you be observant, like look around in traffic, everybody's like forward at their driver's wheel, while you'll see me grabbing on the wheel and like reversing some biomechanics and pushing and tucking the chin. I call it the sexy double chin. Right? You got your sexy double chin going on here.
Us 47-year-old women love that, Jeremy.
Right. Double chin. What are you talking about, kid? I know. I get that a lot, but this is it. This is kind of the ways that we can reverse some of the biomechanical destruction that, whatever you want to call it, gravity. I don't know about gravity, but pressure coming down on our spine, right? Pressure coming down on our spine and sending us into like these not so aligned biomechanical positions. And the chair is an unfortunate way to like really add biomechanical destruction. So you can do a lot of these things to reverse some of the destruction that's been put upon your body. So
wow, that's so good. It's so simple, right? Just, I mean, and I go back and forth. Sometimes I sit on the ball. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I feel like I can't be super productive if I'm on the ball because I'm a little more distracted for some reason.
Oh yeah.
And then because I'm like, no,
yeah. I'm not kidding.
So I'm like, if I have to like, I don't have to, when I get to like, work on my book or anything that I'm doing that takes like serious focus, I take my qualia and then, like I do sit on my chair on my desk, but I have, it's a Husky desk and I have a little crank on it and it rolls up to a standing desk. So I can do either one. And it's just a good reminder to like, crank it up a little bit more often and stand up. And then I find myself, my feet start to get sore. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to sit down for a while. So I'm just, I'm back and forth, and Thaddeus has a lot of the biomechanics down. Every time I go into his office, he only has a standing desk. It does not crank down. I mean, he can lower it, but he never has it because he's got the high ergonomic chair, because he works for Herman Miller. So he's got all these fancy, his desk was like $5,000. Mine was like $125. It's like
$125,000. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm so funded. But he's got the chair that's like the standing desk chair, the Aeron chair, and it's like ergonomic and blah blah. But oftentimes when I go in there, I see him, and he's like, a lot of people see me in my podcast, I'm always like kind of pushing myself up like this, and I'm just getting a little bit of a push up in as well, but I'm sitting like this on my chair.
Right. I squat in my chairs all the time. I'll just be like hanging out like this, and again, I do this when I'm like in my sauna, like I sauna a lot, so like I don't want to sit in this 90-degree position that it's demanding me to do, so I literally kick my feet up like this and just meditate and sauna like this, rather than being in a seated position, because like I said, I mean, it's weird, but people would see me do that at the gyms when I would work, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm reversing biomechanical damage. I want to learn more, like, you know what I mean? And now my squat's like super good. I can be down here for the whole podcast,
right? So you're like all sassy about it. You're like, duh, like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm reversing.
Their hands and their clothes by the riverside, like ancient ancestors.
Totally. Yeah.
Water and stuff. Like this is the primal position. And if you can't do this, then you have some biomechanical like correction that you can go through, and like hit me up if this is you. If you can't squat down, like hit me up. Like I got some real easy ways to like get it back to the elementary side of things, and then graduate you into being more comfortable here. And then you're gardening like this, you're picking things up like this, you're playing with your grandkids like this, this is what it's about.
Well, not a lot of people even can go into a squat, but I was just going to say too, like, that's what I see Thaddeus doing in his chair. He's always squatting. Like in his chair. And then, whenever we're at a lecture or we're, like someplace where everybody's sitting in chairs, he taught me this like 4.5 years ago, that he does not sit in chairs. And if he does for for a little bit, he's like the first one to get up, and he's squatting over on, like by the wall. And he's like doing this, and then he's going like this. He's doing all these primal like stretches or primal stretches. Yeah.
Thaddeus is my man, dude. I'll never forget. Like I was like, probably 8 years ago or something like that. Like I was getting my taxes done with my dad, and like we had to go see this lady, and like we got into her thing, and like I was just into getting into the squatting thing, and I'm sitting there on my desk, like I'm like this, and my dad's like, I don't know, he squats everywhere, and I'm like, that's just something that like I'll never forget. My dad being like, I don't know, he doesn't sit, he squats everywhere. As I just met this lady who's now doing my taxes, and I'm like, okay, like doing it, and everything's good, and I'm moving more. It just like makes you demand more, you get more mobility. This helps with like core strength and metabolism,
oh my God,
ankle, knee, and hip strength and mobility, like everything. So
and
spot on.
That's right, you guys. And it's so cool because it's like, it's so simple and it's so easy. And it's like, like we gloss over that and we're like, no, we got to do this to, got to run 10 miles to be healthy. And it's like, actually, you can just squat a little bit and, work that into your repertoire, of like, I know that every time I squat, I'm better at it and better at it. I'm more stable, and like wherever we go, like that's what we're doing. And tell us more about the 90 degrees, Jeremy. Like what? And then I have some spirit animal questions, and we're just about the top of the hour. I do want to get a little bit of that in before we go. But can you just like in the next, minute or so, can you just tell people like, what is it about the 90 degrees? Is it the angle of Soros? Does that have anything to do with it? Or is it something else?
That might be something you're more educated on than me, but like 90 degrees, just think about it. You're kind of cutting off a mobility ability, right? So, I mean, like I kind of touched on, like, and probably your listeners have heard of the squatty potty. Like it's literally the natural pooping position for us human beings. Yeah. And what I recommend to my crew members is 30 minutes of deep squatting sporadically throughout the day, but logging 30 minutes. and you will start to reverse damage of your ankles, knees, hips, and spine, and core, and metabolism even, because like it actually relaxes those muscles so that you can evacuate more stool when you do go to the restroom. Okay. So like I have a squatty potty, but I don't use it. I stand on the rim. Okay. Like, and I'm that guy. Like, I don't care. I'll tell everybody, because that's it. Like you actually will defecate more, and you'll get rid of all this toxins, right? That your body is actually, trying to get rid of. And it's like, are you pooping out yesterday's food, or like 3 weeks ago's food, or last week's food? You know what I mean? Like we got to get that stuff out, and we don't want to stop that like running hose, right? It's like a kink in the hose. The hose will run, but it's not going to run as good if it has a whole bunch of rocks in the hose or a kink in it.
Right.
So you're kind of unkinking it. And at this 90-degree angle, which a lot of us, this is the only depth of a squat that we go to, is squatting down to the toilet and standing up for the rest of the day, or sitting down in a chair or a couch, and that's it. So once you go beyond those 90 degrees, you start to go into the potential of those joints. They have the potential to go into this deep squat. Like if you're watching this and you can't deep squat like that, you just saw another human being deep squat in a normal chair, and like saw tomorrow go into like lotus and like doing these different positions that like maybe some of the listeners not able to do, but you start to like settle the sands and get a little bit better at it every day. And you start to, like, again, you'd have to work with me. There's a lot to expand on with even just a deep squat, and, helping yourself, like putting something underneath your heels, or like setting your back up against the wall or the back of a chair or something like that. Like that will really help you get into more of this depth, right? And this depth will allow you to like then load bear and start to do it more often when you pick things up. Yeah. So it's a little bit more of like an art than it is just like a movement, but it's definitely a human potential, like again, primal hacker, primal position of us beings to be able to do. Like our ancestors were by the riverside sipping water, washing their utensils and clothes and cleaning off whatever, at the riverside. So it's just like kind of common sense, but ancient wisdom for modern day healing.
That's like exactly what we're here for. I mean, so when you were talking about, sitting on the toilet seat, so we have the squatty potty too. I've been using that for like 10 years. And I used to give them away as gifts because they're like $20. They're like super cheap. Yeah. And they're like, if anybody's ever, complained about being constipated or, blah, blah, like, I'm just like, go get one of these things, you guys. It's just an easy hack. And then Jeremy brings it to the next level. And I spent time in India, and they actually have like when I was in one of the temples, they have signs on the door, and I was like barefoot in New Delhi, India, like in the bathroom. And I was with a friend of mine, and she was like losing it. Like it was crazy shit, like being barefoot, like in this city of 19 million people. And we're in this basement of this temple, and, there's a sign on the door, and it's like, no doing that. They don't want you standing on the toilet seat.
Yeah. I've seen signs like that too. And I'm like, right? I am Jeremy, hear me roll. I just hope that like porcelain doesn't break out, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't me.
I know, but I'm wondering why. Like, why? Because their feet are dirty and you put it on the toilet seat, or like it's just not.
And you probably could break the toilet. I mean, it's like imagine like a pipe and like caulking around a hole.
Yeah,
wherever it goes. Like again, I've done this for a long time, and I've sat on some, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna break this toilet. But I get, it's just worth it. Like break the toilets. Who cares? Like,
don't break some toilets, everyone. Yeah. That's so good. Oh my God. Well, it is. It's such an interesting. I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole with like some of the Shivambu, like the Shivambu therapies and stuff. Yeah. But I think we'll reserve that for another day. And I really want to just ask you really quick about spirit animals, and like, have you seen anything lately? Because I know like the story you told me one day is like you're walking in the woods and you had a premonition about an owl, and then he was like looking at you. Maybe you could recreate that for us. And then also, it was a weird one. And well, I was just saying, and 2 days ago, I was like, I had some kind of guidance and some downloads, and it was like abundance, and like it was like saying, look around you at the abundance that you have and be thankful. That was the message. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe like something happened. Oh, my friend Yoni Havana, I asked him if he could help me set up a website and blah, blah. He like gave me his whole website. And I'm like, I'm so abundant that I have all these beautiful beings in my world that are like, they give me like above and beyond. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just like that moment where you're like, abundance isn't just, fiat currency or whatever. It's so expansive, and it's so far beyond like what we're so limited to and programmed to. And so I walked out the back door the other day, and all these blackbirds started flocking into the tree, and I kind of looked at it and I was like, what the heck? And all of a sudden the whole tree came to life, and I saw all these blackbirds. The whole tree was like peppered with blackbirds, and they were just like boom, 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 more just pouring in, and then some would go. And it was like this big abundance like flow. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like kind of like Snow White. And I went running in the house, and I'm like, you guys get out here. You have to see this. Like it was something. And I tried capturing on video, but the video did not it just did not translate. And we were all just kind of like, what is all this? And I'm like, and I started tapping into them, and I was like, they're showing us how abundant we are and how much we have to be thankful for. And they all just kind of looked at me, and they're like, okay, you weirdo. Because I really I want to harness more of like listening to nature and learning from nature and seeing what comes up and what speaks to me. And I just watched that video with Snow Raven. If you haven't checked her out, she's badass, awesome, like Siberian bird singer, like artist. So check her out. But I want people to hear your owl story or something like that.
I mean, I've had a lot of synchronicities come through like that, and it's like ever since I went on this more of like an aligned spiritual path and like got rid of the addiction issues and like started to really emotionally process things, like Animal Kingdom started to come online and like give me that like super conscious wisdom of like, boom, it happens very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm driving to our sacred trail, like me and my wife go on like these sunrise hikes, and we take my two dogs with us, and like boom, we're coming up the road. I'm getting chills as I say this.
I know.
It's so amazing. So like there's just this coyote like just sitting there, like pretty as my Pomeranian, just like sitting there staring at me, like just shooting me wisdom of like, you are on your journey, dude. Like you are safe, and like this is your part of your day. Like you need to make this part of your day, kind of thing. Like see how we get out here. And I got my two little Pomeranians, and they love the trail, and like just to have that like eye connection, and it's sitting there as pretty as my Pomeranians. Like that was such an amazing feeling. And then like, wow, there's some things like how you said, like I tried taking a video of it and it just didn't translate. And like, you did take a video of it, right?
Yeah.
And like it's only for you to enjoy some of that stuff. And like, that's why it can be like a cricket, a crow, a crawdad, like whatever it is, like it's the animal kingdom coming online, and like your spirit animals are in abundance. Like you've probably seen pictures of like all the animals, and like all of them are you. We are earth beings and earth bodies, and so are they. And they chose to come to this earth plane and learn lessons just like us. So like that was like a really awesome one. And that was like the start of like some serious spirit animal stuff coming online. And I mean, I've even had dreams where like a hawk flies up to me, and I'm like petting it like my Pomeranian, like it's like nuzzling its beak on me, and like I'm like, oh, like just petting the hawk, like this is a hawk. Like, hawks aren't like, obviously like Pomeranian lice, like, but like it was there, and it was like I almost felt like it was my old dog Groff, like in an embodiment, in a physical form, like in an etheric realm. Like it came online, and I've always had like this hawk sense about me too. So that's like been my spirit animal as of late, is like hawks. And I was walking my dogs the other day, and like I'm coming up the street, and this was like on just some random like side street in my neighborhood. And I look over, and there's a fox just sitting there as pretty as can be, looking at me like straight in the face, alive in the face, like not dead in the eyes, like alive in my eyes, like looking at me. And just, again, it's like light language. Like it's like a channel of just consciousness that's so open if you allow, right? And you have your body attuned, your Merkaba activated and all this stuff. It's like, I got the wisdom so quick. And like, even my dogs were like, whoa, like, look at that, like wild dog right there. so amazing. But then like the owl story was so amazing too. Like, I don't know, I've never seen an owl in the wild. So like I'm walking my trail, like it's just another trail. and like we're coming up, and even before I saw it, it was so weird. And like for this to happen, it was just amazing. I was like, honey, look at that owl looking at me right in the face. And like as I was looking and saying it, I pointed right at it. And I was like, I pointed right at it. And this thing was like, you know, again, channeling me the consciousness and the wisdom, and like, look it up. Like, dude, seeing an owl is very rare because they're nocturnal. And this was kind of like at dusk, but like, it was amazing. Like I've never seen an owl, and this thing's like looking at me with these wide eyes, and like, I'm like it's amazing. One of my other crew members, Carrie, she's like an owl whisperer. She's like my owl queen. Like she's amazing. She's really into owls. And go figure, before I went on that hike, I was talking with her about owls and just like how they're so sacred, and they're like, you know, a shamanic animal of like super deep wisdom. And then like I go out and like everything comes in threes. Like my other crew member made me like a herb satchel, like smelling herb satchel with an owl on it. And then like talked with Carrie about it, and then saw one in the woods. Like those synchronicities will come online when you practice Kundalini, when you take qualia, when you do Tai Chi, you do yoga, you do your breath work, you eat clean biophotonic rich foods. Like you're doing all of that you can to allow and set your attractor field to like have these divine beings that are here on the earth plane too, to come into your field and give you that wisdom. So yeah, like my spirit animals have been a lot. I mean, even since I was a little kid, it's always been a penguin. And I'm like, penguins never leave their mate, or like they leave their mate or whatever. Like, and I found my penguin and my wife, and now it's amazing. You know, I've been so lucky. But like, that's why it's like, see what your spirit animal is, or if you have a dream with an animal in it, like really delve into it and see what the meanings are behind it. Because I mean, I've had ones with like pumas and jaguars are like my pets. Like, it's weird, like very weird, but like maybe it's some sort of like golden realm I'm creating in my consciousness of I got pumas and jaguars and birds as my pets.
I got pumas, I got jaguars, I got peacocks here,
and Pomeranians.
And Pomeranians. Oh my God. Okay, so a couple things. We were on a boat cruise last night for like a little party, and there was this woman who was walking these two dogs, and one was a Pomeranian, and the thing was so fluffy, it looked like a doll. I was like, and there's all these people around, and I wanted nothing to do with like talking to the people. I was like this, and I was like locked in on that Pomeranian. And I remember like seeing that picture of you holding your two Pomeranians. And I went down, and I was like, I looked at the lady, and I was like, this is the funniest dog. I mean, it was like, its head was like, I'm not kidding, it wasn't that big, but like Pomeranian head, but its eyes were really close to one another, and it looked like a little cartoon. I mean, it was like comical. And the joy that just looking at that animal brought me, I mean, the simple things, right? Like just the pure joy of being able to be in the presence of that funky little, like quirky dog, you know. It was like, and she's like, he hasn't had a shave in a long time. It looked like an afro, like Pomeranian. Like it was
I've never cut mine, so you'd see mine.
Oh really? Okay.
Talking puffs.
Seriously. So then she walks down to the end of like this bridge area, and then I'm still sitting there and I'm talking to people, and then she comes back, and she and I like had this connection, and then so did the dog. It was like this really cool like triangle of, I don't know, it was neat. And she just like had, I don't know, there was some kind of a sympathetic, some joy, some semblance of joy that we brought to each other in that moment. And I was just like, I love that I get to acknowledge that and be aware of that, and look at the awareness, right? Like look how aware you are of your not just geography, but like of where you're at in all the synchronicities. You know, it's so special.
The sacred guardians. And like, I know you love Sage Bear, and it's like, that's how I am with Chaga and Violet. Like I am just so obsessed with them, and they're your sacred guardians who chose to come here and like make sure you're smiling more often than not, you know?
Totally. So and I know so many people that are animal lovers, and here's one thing that actually Sage did to me is so when he came into my world, there's like an entity story behind that, and we'll talk about that another time. But Sage came into my life because I was so closed. I closed down my heart actually to dogs. and the canine was not my friend for a while. And I was like, I was in a dark place in my life, in my past. And when Sage came into my life, it was Thaddeus and then it was Sage, right? And it was like, boom, heart open, boom, heart open. And so Sage, Little Bear, my puppy, is he's my heart opener. And he came here to do that, like, with me, right? And I know that, like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, I would run away from dogs on the trail. I'd be like, no, thank you. Like, I don't care for your dog or whatever. And now I'm like 180. Thaddeus is like, I don't know what happened to you, but you are a crazy person about these dogs now. And I was afraid before. It is fascinating how they can just mend your heart and open.
Sounds like a sage came into your life and course corrected.
Totally, he did. He 100% did. And he's a Reiki woman came up to me, and Thaddeus in Florida, and she's like, this animal, she's like, he's a heart-centered being. This animal does not think with his brain. He's a heart-centered being. And I was like, I know. It was
created him. You're the heart-centered being that's like created him, and like in your beautiful children. And that's something I do too, is like, I know I'll conversate with the adults, but I'm also like New Earth creators, like talking to the kids and stuff too. So it's like the animals, the kids, like their like intuition and their divine wisdom is so online and readily available to distribute to adults, right? Whatever you want to call us.
Well, they have so much to teach us. It's unbelievable. And you know, being open to that and getting down and playing. I always tell people, like, some people that say, like, what's your secret to youthfulness and, you know, blah, blah. And I'm like, I never stop playing with my kids. You guys, my kids are like 16. My two stepsons are 11 and 13. And my older son, Michelangelo, he's 18. We will still go to the park and we will play Mommy Monster, and they will play and I play. Like, I don't sit on the bench and go, oh, look at the kids playing. Like, I am running around chasing them going, Mommy Monster.
That's just it. You hold that energy and it'll keep you young too.
Totally. And so, yeah, I'm always giving advice to young mothers, older mothers, doesn't matter. Like, anybody, go play, keep playing. Yeah. So, all right, Jeremy, we're going to close it up, and I would love, can I request a farewell light language blessing for all of our followers and for the equinox and whatever's coming through. I would love to shower the Pool Party podcast with that.
Of course. I love it, dude.
Yay.
Let me just get aligned here. Yeah.
Everybody close down your eyes. Take a nice deep breath.
Si, shiakiento kosoto koapiato kopasiete koshotiatos. Hishianda shikuyeta kototo shiata hiliata shutuki siatiakia toposo. Sitiaka shutakimboko sotichika diesotokondo siata shiata katata aviata isiata kokolondo sototo koko isha shiriengangala hotia shiriengandando ho hisho bisi kekolo tiandaki shiho vinga ti. Yekototoko winga stish kushtata hu wishtata tu hitu da she pakakaka huiha shu sa.
Oh, that was awesome. My fingertips are just like buzzing.
I'm like lit up, man. My heart goes boom. It's crazy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for taking the time to come and share all your magical cosmic wisdom with us, with our listeners. I hope you guys had so many takeaways today, because, man, you taught, like, this is $1,000 worth of like one-on-one Jeremy Hill teaching. I'm not kidding. Like, this is big stuff. And, you know, Jeremy is a leader in this new earth, you guys. So, like, how can people find you, Jeremy? How can they work with you? What are your classes? Let's get you online here.
Check out jeremyhillholistictraining.com. I just got a little excerpts on like what I do and what I provide. I have many different modalities. I got my energy transmission that I provide to people all over the world. It's amazing, connecting people with their themselves, their star family, the earth more. Like, it's such an amazing practice, again, that the divine downloaded through me. And it's just like a nice succinct practice for people to practice. And then I have a podcast out there too. It's called the High Light Language Podcast. I have
shocking.
What's that?
I was just like shocking. It's
right. The High Light Language Podcast, like HI and then LL. I love it. I'm Jeremy Hill. But yeah, I do that. I mean, just check me out. I mean, follow my Instagram, Jeremy_Hill9. Find me on Facebook. I'm always like posting on my stories and letting people like kind of see how I be me.
Yay. All right. And we'll put all those links in the show notes, you guys. And let's give Jeremy some love, leave him some comments. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you're watching the replay, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Jeremy. It's an honor to be in your presence.
Always. Same to you. Reciprocating.
Right. Yay. All right.
Shine in, shine on. Peace in as always.